Welcome back, citizens! Caroline here. You may remember that the Articles of Confederation was actually the United States' first attempt at a document outlining the federal government. It was a failure and lasted less than a decade. You already know it was replaced by the Constitution, but did you know that even before it became effective in 1789, many people were calling for an addition to the Constitution? It's true. When the Constitution was first written in 1787 by James Madison, it was approved only because of a pledge of more to come. Today, we'll see how that promise turned out. Our objectives today are to explain why the Bill of Rights was added to the U.S. Constitution, something we've already begun, then summarize each amendment in the Bill of Rights and what it means to citizens like me and you. When the Constitution was ratified, it was done so with a promise that some additions would be made. Keep in mind that the new nation had just broken away from the tyranny of Great Britain, and individuals were protective of their freedoms and rights. Moreover, each state had questions and concerns specific to its individual needs and didn't want to give more power to the federal government. The truth is, a bitter debate began when the Constitution was introduced, as objections were raised by anti-federalists about a powerful national government. Leading revolutionary figures such as Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, and Richard Henry Lee opposed ratification of the Constitution because it didn't have a Bill of Rights. Historic precedents for such an addition were readily available. Several documents, such as the Magna Carta, the English Bill of Rights, and the Virginia Declaration of Rights, outlined limitations on government and rights for citizens. So, when voting to ratify the Constitution, anti-federalists did so based on a promise that something similar would be forthcoming. As you probably know, that promise was kept. In fact, the Constitution went into effect in March 1789, and Madison had the Bill of Rights completed about 6 months later. They were approved and became effective in 1791. The Bill of Rights is a blend of ideas from earlier governments, Enlightenment thinkers, and colonial legislatures that focuses largely on specific individual freedoms. The document also includes clear limitations on the government's power in judicial proceedings by listing rights for individuals. And the Bill of Rights provides clear declarations that all powers not constitutionally granted to the federal government are reserved to the states or the people. As mentioned, many colonial governments ensured some of the liberties protected in the Bill of Rights. For example, freedom of religion was guaranteed in colonies such as New York. Since these rights and limitations on government weren't included in the Constitution, Madison studied the weaknesses in the document pointed out by anti-federalists. He then crafted a series of corrective proposals. His first attempt included 17 articles introduced in August 1789. Congress revised Madison's work, consolidated some, then approved 12 as amendments on September 25, 1789. They were sent to the states for ratification. 3 months later, Articles 3 through 12 received approval from enough states to become the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. They commonly became known as the Bill of Rights. It's worth mentioning that in 1992, more than 2 centuries later, Article 2 was added to the Constitution as the 27th Amendment. Obviously, it did not have a time restriction. Nor did Article 1, which is technically still pending before the states. It details representation in the House to be set at no more than 1 representative for every 50,000 persons. Congress capped the House at 435 members with a Permanent Apportionment Act of 1929. I doubt the Founding Fathers ever envisioned a United States with more than 330 million residents, huh? Now comes the fun part, where we go through the Bill of Rights, breaking down in simple terms what each one means. Future lessons will help you understand the importance of each amendment to citizens. For now, consider this an introduction. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of expression for U.S. citizens. It protects freedom of speech, but can you name any of the other 4 rights that this amendment guarantees? In addition to speech, the First Amendment protects the freedoms of religion, the press, petition, and peaceful assembly. These rights were divided among Madison's original 17 articles, but consolidated into the First Amendment before being sent to the states. Together, they allow individuals to express opinions, pray, and meet as we please as long as we break no laws attempting to harm the life or property of others. The Second Amendment guarantees citizens the right to bear arms. If you are not sure what that means, it allows individuals to own guns. More on this in a future lesson. During the colonial period, citizens had to pay for British soldiers to be lodged in public houses and lodges in their communities. This practice was common before the American Revolution to save the British government money. This forced housing of soldiers is prohibited in the Third Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is the first of 5 in a row dedicated to citizens' rights in regards to the court system. Unreasonable searches and seizures are prohibited by the Fourth. This means that a warrant or probable cause is needed to search you or your property. It also says the government cannot seize or take your property unfairly.
No, no, no.
Ever heard of someone accused of a crime pleading the Fifth? This amendment is where that term originates. While we will save other rights guaranteed by the Fifth for a future lesson, this amendment guarantees due process, which means you get a fair trial in court. Oh yeah, it says you don't have to testify against yourself in court proceedings, thus the term pleading the Fifth. Similarly, the Sixth Amendment provides many protections for citizens accused of a crime, the main one being the right to a lawyer during questioning and legal proceedings. Whereas the Fifth and Sixth Amendments guarantee several rights for citizens, the Seventh focuses on just one. If someone brings a civil suit against you, that is, sues you, you have the right to a jury trial. The last of the court-related amendments is the Eighth. It protects individuals from cruel and unusual punishments if found guilty of a crime. The next 2 amendments are less specific than the first 8, but are no less important. The Ninth guarantees rights to citizens that are not listed elsewhere in the Constitution. It basically ensures that people don't lose certain rights that are not specified elsewhere in the document. Similarly, the 10th Amendment says that states have powers not given to the U.S. government in the Constitution. This empowers states and guarantees more rights to citizens. The 10th is the foundation of federalism, a system in which power is shared between states and a national government. The Bill of Rights began as a promise to the people of the original 13 states for guaranteed liberties, individual rights, and restrictions on government. Now, the first 10 amendments are sacred to U.S. citizens, copied by other nations, and remain as relevant as ever. The exact meaning of the Bill of Rights is still debated among citizens, legislators, and judges. That gives us a lot to talk about in upcoming lessons. As we move forward, pay attention to how these words, written more than 2 centuries ago, are still applicable today. Until next time, vote, debate, and participate, citizens, and remember to always be clever. Hey.